Pod FPV. I wanted to go ahead and start a tutorial today, something very quick, very easy, on soldering. Now, the thing with soldering that I wanted to touch on is the utility of rosin soldering flux and flux in general. Now, a lot of guys from the back in the day, they're kind of against it, but I've been fortunate enough to be a part of electronics soldering and both at home and in business, and I've been around a lot of heavy minds that are involved in electronics, and I like to use flux. And if you can see here, I've got a small rosin soldering flux. Now, you've heard this before because you hear the term often, rosin core soldering or rosin core solder, right? So this right here, this is rosin core solder. So what that means is the wire has a little bit of this flux inside of it. Now, a lot of guys in the old days, they used to say that it has a corrosive capability, and it does, but it's gotten a lot better, I believe, in the past. And I can tell you personally that you can make a strong, really strong solder joint, so strong that actually it should break not where you solder, but where the wire is. And on top of it, I believe that the connection to anything that you do will be stronger if you follow this technique. I've been using this technique for about 5 years now, and it's worked phenomenally. And I just figured I'd pass this tip on to you. Okay. Now, the first thing about the acidity piece is, if you're one of those guys that are really worried about it, you can clean it off with rubbing alcohol. If you're doing it on a circuit board, you can always use rubbing alcohol to wash it off. So, a couple things that I like to solder with as well. I have a Weller. It's not a super high-end soldering iron. I have used Wellers that have adjustable temperatures. This was an auto-detecting one. This is not professional grade, really. It's more of my hobby grade one at home. I don't need anything more. I've got some helping hands, which I recommend a lot. They do come also with a magnifying glass, and you can get there's a bunch of different setups out there. I recommend a weighted base, though. Makes things easy. You've got your rosin soldering flux right there, and then a Brillo pad, of course, and then you've got your actual rosin core solder. And then also, I like to use heat shrink. I've already cut the pieces here, or heat shrink tubing, however you know it. So what we're going to do is what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this black wire here, and I'm going to solder tip to tip, and then I'm going to pull on it, and I'm going to show you the strength difference with this method of soldering. And why this is important, while I strip this, I'll talk. Why this is important is because what the flux is actually doing here is it's actually deoxidizing the wire, so it's cleaning it, right? And then on top of it, that's a dirty end, let me clip that off. On top of it deoxidizing it, it's also, when the temperature hits from the iron, it seems that it raises all the temperature of the wires together. And so what happens is the flux actually draws inward into the wire. So there you get a stronger connection, because instead of it being braided and it just touching the outer braids, it's actually absorbing into the copper bundles there. The other thing that's important about that is the fact that now you have an internally strong solder joint. So we've got our 2 strip wire ends there. And I'm going to go ahead and get some of our rosin soldered flux. And you could just go ahead and wipe some of that on the edge there, just like so. Now, another thing that I would recommend when you're doing wires, don't twist them, because it makes it harder for the solder to draw inward, okay? So once it's done, there we go. Just get a little bit on there. Okay, simple, right? So the first thing you want to do to make the best soldering joints is to tint your wires. So I'm going to go ahead and take my iron, right? I'm going to dip it in the flux. It'll assist you in cleaning the tip too if you dip it in the solder flux, and clean it with the Brillo pad. And then I'm going to take my solder, get a small bead on there like so, and then I'm going to touch the wire. You'll see how quick this will come up to temp and be completely tinted. Boom, tinted. Is that not quick? And then we'll do it again with the other side, and boom. There we go, tinted. Alright, now it's tinted, right? So now we've got this flying end here and this other end here. So what I'm going to do, using my helping hands, I'll leave one hand flying, and then I'm going to overlap them, getting a little bit more solder on my iron here. overlap them, and then just the moment that they contact and I see the solder draw to, I'll pull back. Alright, there we go. And you can add flux to it before you do this as well, and it'll also help. So here we go, and we're done. Boom. Now that is a pretty decent joint, and if you don't believe me, I will demonstrate that. Oh, my bad. I will demonstrate that right now. So you see the joints there? Not a bad joint, right? Go ahead and break it, pull it back. Alright, so I'll go ahead and pull on it, and there we go. There's the joint, and it broke at the bottom of the wire. Hey everybody, this is MonkeyPod FPV again. I would like to show you one more technique. We've got a circuit board here. It's actually an old servo that I had that toasted, and I kind of gutted it, but I just need the circuit board out of it. So you see there's some solder there. This is another tool. This is called a soldering solder sucker. What you do is you compress a spring, you hit the button, and what that does is it actually draws solder with this like vacuum tip off of the circuit board. So what I'm going to do real quick is I'm going to try and remove some of some solder from this joint over here. Let's see if I can do this right. Let's see here. Put it over here. So I'm going to go ahead and heat the joint, and then when it gets soft, I'm going to use the tip to evacuate the flux. So it's hot, and then boom. So you'll see right there that top joint is now completely bald. Now I want you to see what the flux does in value on a circuit board, okay? Now most guys end up burning the board. It's a really big problem in the soldering community, and so utilizing this rosin soldering flux again will help you in assisting making your heat time on the board low, okay? So first thing we'll do, since the board is clean, I'll take my wire. You see it's stripped right here. I'm going to go ahead and get some flux on it. Alright, let's see here. There we go. Got some flux on it. And I'm also going to put some flux on the pad. Now the pad's got a little bit of solder on it, so I don't really think I need to tint it, but normally I would tint it. You know what? It's a how-to video, so I'm going to do it the right way. So I normally would take my iron, get a little bit of solder on the tip. Just a little bit there. There we go. And then just kind of tint the pad, and it'll go quick, okay? So boom, got some there. Alright. And then I'm going to tint my wire. Get some more solder. Alright. Make it all clean. Let's see here. Let's get this all tight. There we go. There we go. It's tinted. And now what we're going to do is we're going to tint or we're going to take the wire. Oh, I see. Hold on, this wire is bad. We're going to strip the other end. I thought I had metal in there. Alright, so we'll strip the wire. It turns out there was plastic in there, so it degraded the weld. Okay, so I stripped the wire. Putting on some flux. Just like so, not trying to really over twist. Don't want to get any too many twists in there. Get a little bit of solder on there. So we got flux on there, and we're going to go ahead and tint it. Boom, boom, tinted. Right, and now we're going to place on the board on that one pad, lining it up. A little bit of solder on the tip of the iron, and a little bit on the here, and boom. And there we go. It's done. Just that fast. So guys, like I said, flux does wonders on several things, and I feel like that's a trick that you guys will be able to utilize on your own. Alright, we all have a blessed one. MonkeyPod FPV